Maybe I can focus here. There we go. Okay, anytime, Pat.
Theresa, based on your memories, what was life like in your homeland just before the war?
Before the war?
Just before the war.
Well, I was born in 20, before the war. I was all the years before the war in Germany, always in the worstest. I got out of Berlin in 44 February, the night they bombed Dresden. And it took 4 days from Berlin to get down to Austria, where my parents were, because they fled for the Russians. And that's how I know. They only let people go from that school that had family to go to.
So you were 19 years old
I was.
Before the war.
Yeah.
And
the war broke out in 39. I was 19.
okay.
And in 41 I went as exchange student to Germany.
Right. Okay.
You know, 6 girls of us went in that home economics school, and that was in Potsdam. If you heard, Potsdam is Berlin. It was a home economic, you know.
Like a college or?
College, yeah. And they said they're gonna, we taught them how to make noodles. The first noodles the teacher showed me went like strudel. And I said, they don't know how to make homemade noodles.
What did they send you to college for home economics?
Home economics. Well, I wanted to go to learn. I wanted to be a teacher, but then once I landed in Germany, no, home economics. Everybody just to home economics, because it was a 3-year course, and you had to take what they offered.
Wow. So
and I was already a kindergarten teacher. I didn't have all my papers, but I went in Hungary, and that's well, from Budapest, because where I lived you couldn't travel anymore. They didn't give you passports, just diplomats anymore. I know that I waited 6 months for my passport.
So had Hungary been invaded?
No, Hungary was with Germany. The Axel, they called it then. Italy, Hungary, and who else? What else? Another country with Germany. So, but you couldn't travel anymore. I lived in Budapest for 6 months. They told me, if you live here, I taught a doctor, a professor's kids German, because I'm German descent, you know. So I taught them, and then I was like a citizen from the city. Then I got a passport there. And I was supposed to land in Potsdam the 1st of September, and I got there the 13th of November. That's how long it took.
So how did the war affect you?
It was already bad in Hungary, but not as bad as in Germany. In Germany was no food. When we arrived, there was no food already then in 41.
So what did you have to do to eat?
Well, the school had, well, we got our monthly rations, you know, ration cards. I think it was a pound of butter a month, and 2 or 3 pounds of meat a month. And this home economic school, they had their own land and greenhouses, and we had to work, you know. Oh, there was 5 o'clock up in the morning, and then half an hour sport, running around, you know. It's like, it was okay, but the food was terrible. Little, I don't know, they had no fertilizer, what it was. Potatoes only grew that big, but in the greenhouses, salads and radishes and things like that.
Were you grateful for whatever food that you had?
Well, sure. I saw the German people didn't have any better than we. We had it better. They tried to, you know.
So what happened when you completed your course?
We couldn't. We couldn't complete it. I couldn't complete it. I never even got my papers all, because the Russian Küstrin, they called it, that was 30 kilometers from Berlin.
Now,
we...
just hold on 1 second. I'm gonna. What happens every time you touch your shirt? You get a rustling on the microphone.
Oh, I
if you
have
can
to...
just keep your hands away from there.
Oh,
Okay?
I better don't talk too much. If I get in remembering these things...
I'm going to ask you that question again, okay?
Yep.
Because
Okay.
Jill had the camera
There
turned
you
on.
go.
Okay, we ready?
Yep.
So, what happened when you were finished school? Where did you go?
Well, I arrived, and that was first 6 months course, because most of these girls, we had no German schooling in Hungary. They had to reschool us, you know.
Okay.
That was a 6 months. For 6 months I was in Tübingen, this is southern Germany, all the universities there, you know. And, well, they had courses, and I thought I gonna be a teacher, and that was mostly political then. See? It was under Hitler's propaganda. And that was mostly propaganda, what he taught us. Then after the 6 months, in Germany it was, anybody before you got your BA, you had to work a year on the farms, anywhere, you know, on the farms.
To get a BA, you had
to
to
get a
work
BA,
manual labor on a farm.
a whole year. Anybody, boy or girl or anybody, before you could make your, you know, your high school, you had to work a year for nothing on the farms. So I had to do that too. And then when I got to West Germany, that is by Magdeburg, close to the Holland border there. And well, that was that I had to make, they called it a Pflichtjahr. You know, you couldn't go in any school unless you had that certificate that you did your Pflichtjahr. That was, you know, any German or anybody that was learned in Germany had to have that. So I went, and then I was at a farm in by Osnabrück, Magdeburg, around West Germany. So I finished that. I not my full year, because they called me back to Berlin in March, and then from March till next year, 44, I was in the home economic. They called it Freiherr vom Stein school, a private, like a girls' finishing school. This was for, and it was hard, but...
So where was the rest of your family at this time?
My family was home in Hungary.
So how were they affected by the war?
It was hard. My brother went, he tried to get into Germany, because there too, already then, there were better schools in Germany, you know, and everybody said the Germans will win the war, and then you have to have an education to, you know. My brother was only 14, and those poor kids, they went out, and the German trains went from Black Sea, where the oil fields with the oil, through Budapest, and they picked up these young boys. I just got a letter from my father that the boy left Hungary that date on a German train. You see where that boy is and look after him. Well, I'm 7 years older. That was a kid, my brother. And these stupid kids, I don't know how
He just took off with the German soldiers.
They called them. They took him, they took them, they promised them, they said you get schooling, and you know where they took them? They took them way up in the Henkel airplane factory as workers,
right.
15-year-old boys. Oh, they were young, strong.
Did you ever see him after that?
Oh, but he went through. He won't talk about it. Oh, the poor boy. And my dad, every other day I got a letter. We were only a girl and a boy, frantic, my parents. Oh. They haven't heard from the boy. He couldn't write. So because once you're in that Rüstung, Henkel, they couldn't tell where they are. Not even their family could know where they are.
So how many years was he there?
Oh, he was only there. He went in, well, I was in Germany already a year then. And just because he thought, oh, I go to Germany, I got a sister there. He thought too, you know how kids are. It was, I don't know what these kids thought, you know. And then he wrote to me that the food is so bad. And they treat them, you know, they treat us like prisoners here. And then I wrote to him, I talked to the Bürgermeister there, and he says, you ask your brother to get a leave for Christmas to visit you, and once he's here I look after it, that he don't have to go back. because he's a 15-year-old boy, you know. You know what happened? Three boys took off. Of course, the Gestapo was searching for them. They took off and landed in Berlin. And in Berlin, the Gestapo caught them because they had once you had no leave, you know, they just throw them into the labor camps. He got thrown into labor camp.
Your brother was one of those boys?
Yeah, one of those boys. And to me, and even those, I believed them because those people felt so sorry for me. I cried day and night, you know. I didn't know what... My father, 2 years older, and you look after your brother, and he just went to Germany because you were there, you know. They blamed me. I was responsible because I wrote to him to come down, but I didn't tell them to come without a pass, eh?
That's right.
I know that was dangerous then. They didn't care who it was into labor camps.
So how did you handle going through situations?
It was hard,
Very
but the people were very sympathetic, you know. And I know that even the ladies' aid, yeah, and then the Burgermeister called me in and he says, look, that's what I found out. If your brother was on that train, that date, coming from Königsberg through Berlin, there was a collision, 2 trains collided, and there was 140 dead.
Oh my gosh.
And over 94, so many couldn't be identified. And I'm so sorry, but he might be one. So you can imagine.
Oh my goodness.
I really thought he's dead.
So how long did it take for you to find?
And he couldn't, once you're in there, you cannot send any word. No, not even the burger, nobody could find out, not even the highest ranking people. Once you're in a labor camp, the Gestapo, there was nothing. No, they couldn't find out nothing. And that's what they told me at the end, that he might be considered dead.
Right.
And he was alive. He was in there 6 months till they let him go, you know.
You were finally reunited with your...
No, when they let him go, you know how they let him go? He don't even dare. They came and said, if you sign up to go into the fightings, a 15-year-old, then you can come out. Otherwise you're in here till God knows when, or you die in here. He came home skin and bone.
So
they had no food in there.
They forced, or he stayed in the camp, or did he?
They couldn't. Of course, you cannot break out. They kill you. There is, you know,
so
machine guns.
Fighting in the army,
to go in the army, and he signed up. All those other 2 boys too. He never heard of the other 2, but he got out when they told him, "Now you want to go to your sister," because they had all my identity and my address, and now you want to go to your sister. Here is a ticket. You know? And he says, no, I want to go home to my mother. I had enough of Germany. Oh. Well, he didn't say that, but he said, if I ever get out.
And how old was he at this time?
15. He was 15 when he got out, because in September he got out, and then he said, we call you. And they called him in. He was in the fightings in Budapest, you know. As a 15-year-old, he turned 15 in September, and the fightings went in Budapest. A month later, he lost his front teeth all, and his hands were shattered. They pulled him out of the Danube. He says that the Wehrmacht, the German Wehrmacht, was behind them to shoot them. There was no way back. You had to go to break through or die. And they were on the Danube River with floats, shooting, you know, fighting the Russians. And he says he already, when he got wounded, he fell in the water, and he just came to when somebody pulled him up to this float and said, you're not too badly wounded. He says, but the float was so overloaded with, you know, that they were half hanging in the water all, and his blood running, his teeth, yeah, you know.
So when you were in school?
I was in school then, yeah.
Wait just a second here.
So...
I wonder if there's somewhere else that I can put this. No, I'll leave it there.
We got out in the nick of time out of Berlin. The Russians were already 30 kilometers from Berlin. And you can imagine the city burning day and night, if you ever saw ruins from Berlin. And the smog and the smoke. And Potsdam is about 20 kilometers like Hamilton from here. But all the smog and the poison, you couldn't, it was terrible.
I'll try that.
Okay.
And our teachers, they want to try to, but there was no day and night bombings and shootings. We couldn't even make our exams,
That's right.
you know, to finish the exams.
Right.
They showed us, we signed them and all, but there were no teacher. Everybody ran for their life. Whoever could get
So
out,
while
get
you were
out.
trying to get an education, the
Yeah.
war is going on all
Yeah,
around
yeah,
you. Tell
that's
me
right.
again about Berlin burning day
Oh,
and
yeah.
night.
Day and night. We got out in February 44. Well, another thing, they came, big ranking army officials, whoever, because young, strong girls, you have no family in Berlin, but you have your education here. You come and help defend the city. Defend it, how? Defend it. Go with the Panzerfaust on your shoulder, run in those, against the tanks? Girls? Our teacher, yeah?
So
And he
what
said,
did you do? Did you have to do that?
you didn't. He said they made us sign, but our teacher, I said she was smart. She was an old maid, 50. She says, girls, don't do it. You're not no German citizens. They can't force you. But we thought, if you say no, they throw you into labor camps. They had no. She says, no, they have no authorities with you. You show your letters where your parents are. You have family in Austria. They have to see that you get down there. And many girls signed up. We want to defend Berlin, because they thought they're going to live in Berlin or get sometimes a job or something, because there was lots of jobs just because all the men were in the war.
And that's when all the bombing started in
In Berlin was bombed before. But we were out. Potsdam the school had a big, it was beautiful though, beautiful on a not mountain, like a hill, all gardening, greenhouses gardening, and these girls were always, well, when I was there was 48 of us, some German girls, and I know the girls were so jealous of us because the teacher always said, look at this girl had no German schooling, aren't you ashamed that you're everything. When they had a program you had to write, listen and write, and we said this girl can write poorer or cleaner German than you. Those girls were so jealous.
They were jealous.
Because they didn't, not everybody has a gift. I learn languages very fast. See, I'm perfect of course I'm born in Hungary, and then in Germany too. She says, look at this girl, had no German schooling, and she hasn't got as many mistakes in her, what they call it, Aufsatz, when you write essays than you. And they were jealous, and how can be, why are you so smart?
So what happened?
I says, you girls don't, but we know that if we want to get ever a job here, we have to be good.
So what happened after the war for you?
We ran away. I came out the last night when they bombed. Did you hear the Dresden night, the phosphor bombs? That phosphor gases.
Oh,
And
phosphorus gas.
gases, but gas bombs, phosphor. It'll burn in like bluish, and the bodies burned up. We saw bodies laying about that big, they shriveled up, black. You couldn't make out, is it?
The gas that did this?
The gas and the phosphor,
So
burning.
that was it for you? You thought,
Burning.
I'm out of here.
Yeah. Well, of course, we maybe were 30. I don't know how. People said we're 30 miles from Dresden. The train had to stop. We couldn't go. There was no track. The tracks were bombed off. So they said to don't get poisoned. We had no gas masks with us. And another thing, we only got out this teacher. If it wouldn't have been for her, I would have never made it. I'd die there. And all those girls, 6 of us.
Man, it's going 30 kilometers.
We went there, the Anhalter Bahnhof. It's a huge Bahnhof, the biggest in Berlin. And we went there, and there was just one train. They said, this train, it's a panzer train that goes into fighting. No windows, just slots, and they were... how did they when they paint the train over, so you don't... Camouflage trains with guns sticking out and all. Okay. And the fightings were in Wien and beside Vienna, Wiener Neustadt, and he was an Austrian, this man. And our teacher went and he said to these soldiers, I want to talk to the commandant. And he came, he was a very nice man, and we were standing there. And she says, look, Landsman, she says, these are Austrian girls. They came to Austria, give them a chance for life. She says, if they stay here, they all die here. And he says, and I want them to get out. And he too, he says, well, but I can't do that. I go to the fightings, I can't take no women's on. And she says, you know what? They're Red Cross nurses. Where she got the Red Cross uniforms for us? That just about cost our life in Czechoslovakia. We got stuck in Czechoslovakia then. And
You got on this train.
we got on the train. We were 2 days on that train.
Pretending you were nurses.
Pretending we were nurses. And that's how he could have taken us on, see? He could have said he's going to take us to the fightings, you know, they need nurses there. And then he said, but you have to, I take you to Tabor. That's Tabor, Czechoslovakia. And before Austria, he says, and then you have to get off. I don't care how, but you have to get off and get in touch with the Red Cross and see how you get to Austria. We said, fine. But we had no food, you know, just our little clothes and this nurses' uniforms with the Red Cross on, and we landed in Tabor. And went in there, and right away I saw the hostility again. They were full of partisans there, fighting all communists against the Germans. And we got in this thinking, oh, we get a good meal here at Czechoslovakia, has food. We got in and we went there and he says, here is money we had lots of money. And Mark, we want a good supper, we haven't eaten in 2 days. And they weren't even looking at us, hateful. And I said, well, what did we do wrong, my God? They didn't. And the other girls could speak Slovak, you know. And then right away says, you're Slovakian, what you doing in Germany? See? The happy. What you doing in Germany? And then we saw German soldiers in a corner huddled, 4 of them. And we went, and right away they were very friendly. And he says, how did you get here? We says, we came on a panzer train from Berlin. Yeah. And he says, we've been sitting here for 2 days. They don't even give us a coffee, nothing. Oh, sorry, dear. I moved.
That's okay. So what?
And he said, we were 8 of us, 4 went out. Don't ever go out of this room. They kill you all.
Oh,
they killed them off one by one.
So
and
what did that?
We stood there. We didn't dare to go to bathroom, or we didn't ask for any more food. We just huddled there and tried to change our clothes in our civilian clothes.
So how long were you stuck?
A night and a half a day.
So you just got up and left one day?
No, the Red Cross bus, a little car came for us, you know, like a truck.
You were there?
Somehow we got through.
They knew that
Yeah, other German people came in and he said, try to get in touch with the next city where the posts were, the Red Cross posts. And then they said, well, but we have no wagon, but as soon as we have one free, we send one for you. So a night and a half a day, we were there without food and without anything. We didn't dare to go out. If they say, those guys didn't believe it, they went out to kill them. See, that's a hateful, that's right, just because those poor boys.
What kept you going through that?
Well, just you want to live, you know. And I said, if I made it through Berlin, through the bombings, then I die here from a partisan. They killed them with bayonets and knives. They found them knives sticking in them outside lane.
The things that you have seen. So
all have we seen in Berlin when we helped. That's why she got their uniforms, because we helped on the train when the woundeds came in. We carried the woundeds from the train into the cars when we moved them back, you know. I know that we went, opened, the doors flew open on those fast trains, blood running out.
Oh.
They were thrown in there, those woundeds, on top of each other. The fightings were 30 kilometers. And then we had no bandages, there was nothing, no more needles. At first we weren't allowed to give needle. We were allowed, we had morphine. They said it was the ones that cry too much, give him a needle, give him a needle. Well, we learned how to give needles.
Yes, you would have to very quickly.
But how many times I picked them up and his arm was in my hand, and dear God, I was so strong. The more you get so hard, you have to help or die there with them, or why I'm here for if I can't help.
So did you finally get
those young kids, mama, mother, mama.
Did you finally get back to your parents?
Oh, finally, after 4 days, I landed in Austria in the Alps. My parents were there already since September, because the Russians were invaded Hungary too. It was bad. We live right at the Romanian border, 4 kilometers, and it was bad there too.
So how did
So we never, you saw the pictures, our house, we never got a cent. Whoever people left, some people had big domains, farms, businesses, never got a cent.
Never got a cent.
They threw us out, the common. And in Austria we lived a year, and in 45 November we went back home. They called over the radio. You know why they called? To grab all the people and into Russia, never saw them. I know we went back home with a police train, because the police that was the elite police, you know. They brought all the paper and the crown jewelry and all that into Austria. And from there they brought it into New York. It was here for many years. Just a few years ago they gave it back, the crown jewelry. And well, they brought that, and they came with, I don't know how many hundreds of thousands of horses. They died there there was no food for the horses in the mountains, snow that high. And they called them back. And those poor, I know that their officers said, you go back by your own will, but you will never see your family or your home. They grabbed them right at the border with us, and right into another train into Russia, to Siberia.
Siberia.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So how did you come to the decision that you were... Oh, 1 second.
Well, listen, there will be my face, I hope my face and all.
Yeah, of course it is. I'm just going to ask you a couple of more questions.
Well, I better don't say too much.
Oh, it's
over now, I know. Oh, yeah.
Well, we're going to edit it, so
Yeah,
don't worry about
what you're saying. We just like the answers you're giving.
Yeah.
It's wonderful.
Well, it was hard for I know these other girls, they suffered because they had to work on farms, and so did I. I worked the whole year for nothing, without any pay.
It's unbelievable.
Yeah.
Okay, is
this one.
the battery gone on?
Yeah.
Okay, she's just got to change the battery in her mic. Yeah, that was...
Well, I ended, after 4 days, I landed in Austria.
Maybe it's just my earpiece. That battery was dead, but...
Oh, you're here, Elfrida?
Yeah, just start paying attention to me.
Oh.
Where does she gets it going again, Theresa?
Yeah, she's just having problems with the mic on her.
Mm-hmm.
Let me try and headset.
Sometimes I couldn't believe it myself that I pulled through.
Man,
Yeah. I couldn't believe it myself that I...
Oh, wow.
You know? Oh yeah, the light's on. Okay, say something.
Yeah?
I got it. It was
Okay.
just the headset.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
So I got there, the 4 days. I know it was, we were 4 days on that thing, but we got through, and I landed in the night, and I was so surprised, the little station, and in the daytime my dad, for 4 days they waited, he know I'm coming. And he waited for 4 days. And in the night, I know it was 10 o'clock at night, when a little train, just one train pulls in, it's the high Alps there. And these boys, they were a couple of years younger than I, and they said, we've been waiting for the 3rd day here, your dad paid us a little money to be here all day and night, they waited. And,
So
well,
you're reunited with your family.
with my family, yeah.
Did you decide together to come to Canada?
Oh, yeah, we had an aunt here.
You had an aunt?
Yeah, that came in 28, and they were on a tobacco farm. And when we got to Germany, you know, we're not even there. Then from Austria, we went back home to Hungary. That was in 45 November then. See, war was over in May.
Yes.
We went home in November. But what a homecoming. We couldn't go in our house.
So was that when you decided to come to Canada?
No, that was already from my aunt. They were looking for us, you know, searching.
Right.
And there were letters there. And yeah, then in the following year, in 46, we got thrown out of Hungary from these communists. Back up, there was a proclamation on the list of names. 95% of the population.
They just picked people's names and said, you have to leave?
You have to leave, you get 4 days and 100 kilos you get. Well, we didn't have much because we were away, eh? But people, farmers, 100 kilo, they packed mostly food. And that spoiled all in the weeks. And then in the wagons, like they did the others, you know, where the cattle wagons, 3, 4, 5 families pushed in a wagon and into Germany. Well, for the longest time, I was terrified that they're going to take us to Russia. But it was Germany, you know, it was like, they called it the Potsdam, I don't know, that they had to take these people in. And of course, German people, they had nothing. They didn't want, we want no homeless, no DPs, we don't want no DPs.
So it probably was not a very difficult decision to leave Hungary and come to Canada?
No, we were looking forward. When we found the letters, we wrote right away to my aunt to help us to come to Canada, or because Germany was beat down. There wasn't even no jobs then. See, in 46.
What was your first thoughts when you came to Canada?
Oh, it was wonderful. It took us. We left Germany, Bremerhaven, the day after New Year's Day.
And this was
1949.
1949, okay.
And we landed in the 16th in Brantford, here, the 16th of January. So you can imagine we were 14 days on boat and train from Germany. In that, I show you, there is the Beaver Bay, a little boat, you know, they said it was a German army boat. I know we had bunk beds, 3, 4, we had to climb up, the young ones climbed on top, and it was...
It's funny that you can sit here and laugh about something like that.
I left, I was young, but older people cried, you know, that they said, we are now soldiers, they treat us like cattle here. I know, old ladies had to stand in line, and right away I thought, I'm not going to stay down here and get seasick. Everybody was so seasick at that boat just in January, in the highest, I know, in the middle Atlantic, we stood for a whole day and night. They thought the ship is going to break in two.
Oh.
It was a 10,000-ton army boat, and those storms, and an old boat. And I know they said that they were afraid, that's why I didn't dare. They stood a whole night there. So, and it was, and you weren't allowed to go up on deck because the water would sweep you over. And everybody was so seasick, and I thought, I'm not going to I go up, and I worked in the kitchen, you know, right away. The cook was Italian, an old man, and he said to me, I couldn't speak English, but he said, give you a dollar. First time I saw a Canadian dollar. You wash my white shirt. I washed them 3 shirts. He gave me $3. And then the other officer's shirt I washed by hand in a sink and ironed them. I had my first $10 when we landed in Halifax.
So what were your first years in Canada like? What did you do for work?
We had to work very hard on the farm.
You worked on a farm?
On the farm.
Were you married at this point?
No. I married here in Brantford in 54. No, we stayed with my aunt for a year, little over a year. Then we grew tobacco, our family, like my parents and I and my brother. Yeah, right in Brantford there, and then we growed in Waterford for a couple of years. About 6 years in tobacco till we came to Brantford. And then I got married, and
Have you ever regretted your decision
no,
to
no,
leave
I'm
Hungary and come to Canada?
no, I'm thankful to get out because it got worse and worse over there. It still is bad. Yeah.
So what
And
is it about our country today that you love?
Well, it's the freedom and the freedom of speech. I know we were so meek, you know, you didn't dare to say what went on, you know.
With good reason, too, obviously.
In Austria especially, and then even those people there, they don't dare to talk about it, you know, what went on. But
So your mom and dad and your brother came over to Canada?
oh yeah, they died early, my dad died in 60, and my mother in 64. Hard work, and probably all those years suffering. And then
What's your brother?
my brother, he's fine, he lives in Simcoe. He's a good business, and yeah, he doesn't talk about it.
Do you
He
find
said
it
when they all get a pension for it, he says, I don't want nothing and I don't want to hear nothing, I just want to forget. Yeah, he doesn't. He made his life here, and
Well, at least he's had a better life over here.
yeah. Well, he's younger, but and I don't complain. I had a good life, very busy life, very hard working. But people don't believe it, I never had a chance to go to school. And I read and write in English. I know, it just came to me. I run a store out, Harley, if you ever heard of Harley, Brantford.
I've heard of Harley, yes.
Yeah, well, that general store I had for over 20 years.
Oh, did you?
Yeah. We came in here in 76. We sold it and came to Brantford.
So you're retired now?
Oh, yeah. Well, I soon be 80, dear.
No
I'm going to be 80 years old
Oh,
next
I don't believe
January.
that. There's
No?
way.
Well, Elfrida knows how old I am. Yes.
Well, you look great.
Oh, God.
You really, truly do. I think it's a
I know I'm
special
too...
kind of a person. From the stories that I've heard
Yeah,
in this
yeah.
video, it just takes special kind of people. I mean, look
Yeah.
at all of you. You're so healthy and vibrant. And
Yeah. Not always, though, not always, but...
no, I can just imagine going through
Yeah. Those were years. And it happened so fast, you know, that even in Germany they said, aren't you afraid? You know, well, I says, if I survived that long, then why shouldn't I survive now, go to Canada? Aren't you afraid to go in the winter in the storm to Canada? They asked me.
After
Yeah, and I said, if I survived the war, the bombings, and all the hate, and I didn't. I tell you what happened in Austria. After, okay, the war was over, and then everybody, and my mother said, we didn't know about my brother. He must be here. If they took him into the army, then he must be here in a camp. You know, they had thousands of people in the camps under the sky, just fence around them and guns, you know. And we went for weeks. The little bit of food we could scrape together to go look. My father and my uncle, they took them in. They were close over 50 already, but they had to go in. The Austrians too push the homeless, the DP persons. You go there, standing guard at the warehouses, you know, army warehouses and so. And we got a letter from my dad that they were close past Linz in a big, and we know that they went as war, prisoners of war. They must be in a camp, and we found out where those camps are, the American prisoner of war camps, you know. And I went with a bike, and a cousin of mine, we were looking, she was looking for her brother, I for mine, and my dad. From one camp to the other, 20, 30 miles radiant, they had and the other girls came with us, and it said in English and in German, in Austrian, that don't go close to the fence, because they shoot. And this girl that was with us, and we when the soldiers looking, we called, do you have anybody by this and this name? He looks like this, and thousands of people, thousands in there, starving because they took their food all away, and because I don't know why. And they said our food wasn't spoiling, you know, they just took it away and burned it. And then they had no food my dad couldn't walk anymore. He said that he didn't get for a whole week, nothing.
Oh, no.
Not even water to drink was enough. Yes, that's how they treated him.
You have a couple of questions to ask.
No, that's
Finish
it.
up?
We've
Oh.
asked all our questions.
Yeah.
Okay. Was there anything else? Because I'm just going to leave the microphone there. It's not working. It's rustling.
And this girl kept,
I just want to ask about that teacher.
about what?
Yeah, did you ever go back and look for that teacher? Did you ever try to contact her? Your teacher that helped you get out of Germany?
We had no idea, not in Berlin,
idea.
but I went back in '76, and that's by Heidelberg, that I worked in this mental hospital before I came to Canada for 2 years. And she is retired, and they were so nice all. Yeah.
You did go back and see her
I go
in
back,
76?
yeah, I met her.
Oh, isn't that...
Retired, but
Yes.
they were all so nice.
Oh, that
Yeah,
I bet
yeah.
that made you
I
feel
got I
good
got
to be able to
cousins
do
over
that.
there. I got cousins still in that town. Of course, they're all older now, but I was the oldest in the whole Engelhardt family. Cousins, and I got cousins in Simcoe, in Delhi, in, you know, that we were the first ones. Then every year we brought another family over, you know, and there was working on the farms, and they're all well off. They all have tobacco farms and retired now, or businesses, or especially their children are all well to do.
They would be, wouldn't they?
Oh yeah, yeah. They all went to have educations, and you know, I know my one cousin's girl. She married a lawyer, Beckus, in Delhi, and very well off. And she went to university, and all the others all have high education, have good jobs, and doing well.
And you look like you're doing
Oh.
very well.
Here I'm doing well, but
Well, I think that's
Is that good?
I think about it. Very, very interesting stories.